on the line. So, assalamu alaikum, dear caller.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Yes, my brother. What's your question for the Sheikh?
My question in Surah Al-Fatiha, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, it is ayah, yes? Why
Yes.
people didn't read it jahran instead of sirran?
Sorry, could you repeat that just there again? Surah Al-Fatiha, the Bismillah.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, it is ayah.
Yes.
Why during the salah we don't say jahran?
Okay, sure. No problem. We'll ask that to the Sheikh. Sheikhana.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillah wa sallallahu wa barak rasulullah. Thank you for your question, brother. In terms of this question pertaining to the Bismillah or the saying of Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim being part of Surah Al-Fatiha, why do we not enunciate it or express it out loud? Why do we not recite it audibly in the salawat that we recite audibly? So Fajr, Maghrib and Isha are prayers in which we will recite Surah Al-Fatiha. In the first two rakahs of each of those three salawat, we recite it audibly, but we don't recite the Bismillah, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim out loud. Why is that? Very simply, there is some difference of opinion regarding this issue. So in the Shafi'i school of thought, which is one of the four schools of thought, in that school of thought, you do actually say Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim out loud. So you say Allahu Akbar, and then you'd say the Dua al-Istiftah, Subhanakallahumma wa bihamdik wa tabarak asmuk wa ta'ala jadduk wa la ilaha ghayruk, or one of the other Dua Ad'iyat al-Istiftah, such as Allahumma ba'id baini, ila akhir dua. And then you do say, after saying A'udhu billahi shaitanir rajim quietly, then you say Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim and Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen to the end of the surah, wala dhalin ameen, and read another surah. So that in some ways does answer your question. However, there are three other schools, all of which in the mainstay say you do not say the Bismillah out loud. You don't say Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, you just start with Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. The reasons for this vary. And if you want, should I expand some of the reasons? So first and foremost, there's some discussion or dispute amongst the scholars as to whether the Bismillah truly is part of Surah Al-Fatiha or not. Secondly, even if those who did recognize it being part of Surah Al-Fatiha, they said, we found that the Prophet ﷺ did not recite it out audibly. And they cite the fact that famous hadith of Sayyidina Anas and Abu Hurairah, the hadith saying that I prayed behind Abu Bakr, I prayed behind the Prophet ﷺ, I prayed behind Abu Bakr and Umar and Uthman, and none of the radallahu anhum ajma'in and radallahu an Ali ibn Abi Talib, we found none of them recited the Bismillah out loud, or the wording of the hadith being that we prayed behind each one of them, and the first thing they would say out loud after Allahu Akbar would be Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. And this is reported in Sahih Hadith. So this is why they would not actually recite it out loud, one reason. And the other reason, is it even part of Surah Al-Fatiha, which is, from the Maliki perspective, something which is questioned. Why did they question it? Because of the famous hadith the Prophet ﷺ says, قَسَمْتُ الصَّلَاةَ بَيْنِي وَبَيْنَ عَبْدِي نِصْفَيْنِ وَلِعَبْدِي مَا سَأَلْ فَإِذَا قَالَ الْحَمْدُ لِلَّهِ رَبِّ الْعَالَمِينَ قَالَ حَمِدَنِي رَبِّي قال الله تعالى حمدني عبدي أو كما قال عليه السلام. The famous hadith Qudsi, wherein the Prophet ﷺ says that Allah says, قَسَمْتُ الصَّلَاةَ بَيْنِي وَبَيْنَ عَبْدِي نِصْفَيْنِ, I have divided the prayer between myself and my servant in two halves, and my servant will have that which he or she asks for. So if my servant says Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen, all praise and thanks belongs to Allah, Lord of all that exists, then Allah says in response, my servant has indeed extolled me. And then when my servant says Ar-Rahman Ar-Rahim, that Allah says Majjadani Abdi, my servant has praised me. And the hadith goes on. The point here being what? The point here being that the hadith Qudsi starts with the Salah, or Fatiha being called the Salah, and that beginning with Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. So all of this lends weight to not saying the Bismillah out loud, but saying Bismillah out loud is also a valid opinion because it's one of the four schools of thought and held by some of the Sahaba and Tabi'in. So there's two opinions, but I hope all in all that does address your question, inshallah.
Jazakallah khair, Sheikh.